I gave up my career, my savings, and my future for him. And in the end, he walked away with someone else. This isn't just a story about betrayal. It's about the painful truth I had to learn the hard way. Stay with me until the end, because what I discovered could save you from the same heartbreak. This is the hardest lesson I ever learned about trust. When I first met him, it felt like something out of a dream. He noticed me in ways no one else ever had. The sweet messages, the long calls, the promises of forever. He made me feel like I was the only person in his world. Back then, I was ambitious. I had goals, a stable job, and dreams I was chasing. But when he came into my life, everything started to shift. He told me he couldn't imagine his future without me, and I believed him. So I began making choices. I left the city I loved to move closer to him. I helped him through school, paid for things he couldn't afford, and told myself it was all temporary. When his family needed me, I stepped in like I was already a part of them. I cooked, I cared, I showed up for everyone, even when it cost me my own rest, my own peace. Each sacrifice felt like proof of my love. And every time he said, "We're building our future together," I believed it. The deeper I fell for him, the more I convinced myself that every sacrifice was just a step toward our shared future. At first, it was small things. Paying for dinners when he was short on cash, covering bills he said he'd pay back soon. It didn't feel like much, because I told myself, that's what love is. You give, and it comes back to you. But slowly, the giving never stopped. It only grew. When he had a dream of starting a project, I became the one to fund it. I took money I had saved for my own plans. Money meant for courses, travel, maybe even my first apartment. And I handed it to him. Thousands gone, without a second thought. I told myself it was an investment in our future. When a promotion came up at work, one I had worked years for, I turned it down. Why? Because it meant relocating to another city, and he told me he needed me by his side. He said, "We'll have plenty of time for your career later. Right now, we have to focus on us." And I believed him. I let my dreams sit quietly on a shelf while I poured everything into his. It wasn't just money or career opportunities. It was time. Hours and hours spent being his emotional backbone. Whenever he had a fight with his family, I was the one he called. When he needed help with assignments, I stayed up late typing papers that weren't mine. When his parents needed something, I was there. Shopping, cooking, running errands. Even when I was exhausted from my own work, I filled every role. Partner, supporter, caretaker, everything. And whenever the thought crept in, "This feels unfair, I'm losing myself," I silenced it with the same excuse. This is temporary. Once he's stable, once we're married, once we build the life we talked about, it will all be worth it. I remember nights sitting at my desk, staring at unpaid bills in my name, while transferring money into his account so his plans could move forward. I remember checking my inbox and seeing rejection letters from opportunities I couldn't take because I had chosen him instead. My phone was full of reminders, rent due, loan payments, overdue credit cards. But I told myself, it's okay. It's for love. It's for us. Even my friendships began to fade. I skipped birthdays. I turned down trips. I stopped answering messages because I thought being fully available to him was proof of loyalty. And every time he said, "Thank you, I don't know what I'd do without you," my heart believed it was all worthwhile. But deep down, there was a voice inside me whispering, "What about you? Who's taking care of you?" I ignored it. I buried it under more sacrifices, more giving, more waiting for the day it would all finally pay off. Looking back now, I see it clearly. I wasn't just giving him pieces of my time or money. I was giving away pieces of myself. And once you start doing that, it's hard to notice how much of you is left until it's almost gone. It didn't all fall apart at once. It started with tiny cracks, ones I tried to paint over with hope. The late-night texts he wouldn't explain. The sudden excuses for why he couldn't meet me. The way his tone shifted when I asked simple questions, like, "Where were you?" or "Why didn't you call?" Suddenly, I was the one who was too controlling or overthinking. I noticed how he stopped talking about our future. The plans we used to make together, he brushed them off with, "Let's not stress about that right now." Whenever I brought up marriage, stability, or even small things like saving for a place together, he would change the subject, or worse, laugh it off like it was silly. There were little lies too, ones I caught but pretended not to. He'd say he was with friends, but I'd hear background noise that didn't match. He'd claim he was too busy for dinner, but then post a photo out somewhere else. Each time my stomach turned, but my heart convinced me to stay. I was tired of the waiting, tired of the confusion, tired of feeling like I was the only one fighting for us. And yet, I clung to hope. I told myself, relationships aren't perfect. Everyone has flaws. If I just stay patient, if I just love him harder, it will change. But deep down, I knew. I knew the man who once made me feel like the center of his world was slipping away, and I was too afraid to admit it. The truth came crashing down on me in a single moment, a moment I'll never forget. It started with a message, not from him, but from a friend. She said, "I think you need to see this." My hands shook as I opened the screenshots. His name, his words, but not to me, to someone else. Words of love, promises, the same lines he once whispered to me, now copied and pasted to another woman. At first, I couldn't breathe. My mind went blank. I told myself, this must be a mistake. It can't be him. He wouldn't do this to me. Not after everything. I stared at the screen for hours, hoping the words would somehow change. And then, the final blow. I saw him, with my own eyes, walking down the street with her, laughing, smiling, like I'd never even existed. He didn't look guilty. He didn't look sorry. He just looked free. In that instant, my world shattered. The man I had sacrificed everything for, my time, my money, my future, had built a life with someone else right behind my back. Shock turned into denial, denial into anger, anger into grief. I cried until my body went numb, until there were no tears left. I felt hollow, like all the years I gave, all the pieces of myself I handed over, had vanished in a single moment of truth. And the silence that followed was the loudest thing I had ever heard. I couldn't stay silent. I had to confront him. When I finally stood in front of him, my voice was shaking, not from fear, but from the weight of everything I had carried. I asked him straight to his face, why? After everything I gave, everything I sacrificed, why? He didn't deny it, not completely. Instead, he offered excuses, weak, hollow words. You're too much sometimes. I felt trapped. I didn't ask you to do all that for me. Hearing those words was like a knife twisting deeper. He was rewriting my love as a burden, my sacrifices as mistakes. The fallout was brutal. His family, the very people I had cared for, turned cold. Some whispered that I had pushed him away. Friends I thought were mine chose sides, and it wasn't mine. Suddenly, I was the outsider, the woman who gave everything and ended up with nothing. Financially, I was broken. The money I had poured into his dreams was gone. My savings emptied. Bills piled up. I found myself packing boxes in an empty apartment, the silence pressing against me like a reminder of everything I had lost. The home that once felt like it held a future now felt like a graveyard of memories, receipts, photographs, and promises that no longer meant anything. Every corner whispered betrayal. Every box I sealed was a piece of my life I would never get back. And yet, the hardest part wasn't losing him. It was realizing how much of myself I had already lost long before he walked away. After he left, I thought the pain would destroy me. And in some ways, it almost did. But slowly, painfully, I began to rebuild. At first, it was survival. I sat down with my bills and faced the damage head on. I made payment plans, cut expenses, and promised myself I would never let someone else control my finances again. It wasn't easy, but each small step gave me back a little bit of power. I reached out for help, therapy, support groups, long talks with friends I had drifted away from. For months, my days were filled with tears and journaling, but those pages slowly turned from grief into healing. I started saying yes to myself again. A new job, long walks, joining a gym. If there's one thing my story taught me, it's this: love should never cost you your entire self. Here are the lessons I wish I had known sooner. Maybe they can help you before it's too late. Never abandon your dreams or identity for someone else's comfort. If you make major financial or legal sacrifices, document everything. Protect yourself. Set boundaries early. If someone loves you, they'll respect them. If your money or property is tied up, seek legal advice before it's too late. And finally, healing takes time. Don't rush it. Your worth isn't defined by someone who couldn't see it. I gave everything and lost myself. But in the end, I found strength I never knew I had. If you've ever lived through something like this, share your story in the comments. Someone out there might need to hear it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and check the description for resources that can help you protect your heart, your future, and your peace. You are worth more than what you've lost, and your story isn't over yet.